Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Who I Hire podcast. For the three people that are watching for the first time, our goal here is to give you, the candidates, the cheat sheet on how to get hired by some of the best companies and the best managers, not only in Europe, but around the world. And today is no exception. I have a phenomenal guest today. George Gavrila is joining me. George, I'm going to give you a brief introduction in a second, buddy, and you're going to correct me if I'm wrong. But for our listeners, why you want to listen to George today, George is CMO of Woodpecker, which is a cold email tool that is made to get you replies. But furthermore, why I think George is such a great guest today is Woodpecker has also been through different stages. It's now listed on the Warsaw Stock Exchange. So what you can be for sure is that George has a big responsibility not only to his people but also to his shareholders. But George has had phenomenal experience as well, where he's been in roles such as head of growth, sales director, marketing director. So what I'm also happy about is George brings to the table still a little bit of a memory of being a candidate, I hope. I always feel like this is me as well. I still remember being a candidate and things like that. But George has scaled companies not only in Europe but with international market. So I imagine that there's a wide wealth of experience in recruitment. And George, listen, buddy, I'm so happy that you joined us. We were on a panel a couple of weeks ago together, so I'm really happy. And tell me, what did I miss from my introduction, buddy?
So Mick, it's great to be here. I don't get to talk about hiring enough in podcasts and webinars.
Mm-hmm.
While I think it's the most important process in a business. So if you and I were going to create a team to win the World Cup tomorrow, it starts with hiring.
Yes.
So it's the same in business. I would say I'm really happy that you're doing this, both to help candidates to hear stories from the field of how to land in a job that works, but maybe also for the other side, the people who are hiring, to get in the mindset that, hey, this really, really matters. Like, it's absolutely crucial for the success of our business if we're going to get this right or wrong. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy to share what I've learned from both sides. I've been through a number of jobs, sometimes changing jobs inside the same company, sometimes changing companies in UK, in Poland. So I'm happy to share anything that can help people land their dream job and companies land their dream candidate. So, everybody's happy.
Perfect. No, exactly what you've just said. But I mean, for me, I'm really happy that you're here, because I also think that when I've got people on the podcast that also have that sales and marketing experience, I think we have a slightly different view on recruitment, because we spend a lot of time trying to build relationships with customers, with potential customers. And then when I joined the recruitment space and I started to look at this a bit more in depth, there's so many lessons to be learned in recruitment and people management from customer management and, acquiring customers. In fact, I think sales and marketing are further ahead in the cycle than we are with our candidate experience in some cases.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, George,
I for sure agree with you. I would say marketing is even easier than sales, but I would say sales is probably easier than some tech domains and other things. So I think we have it easy from this perspective, but it's not that easy also.
Yeah. So, George, I kick off every podcast so that people know if they're going to stay and listen, which I'm sure they will, which is tell us a little bit about the kind of roles that you're normally recruiting for. So it gives a little bit of context to the kind of point of view we're going to have today.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say these days I hire what you would find in a marketing team, full stack, including developers and designers, more on the tech side, but also people who are very channel orientated. Like, for example, I think my last recruitment was a technical SEO person, which is very different than a copywriter or a social media manager. I would say what's different about marketing compared to everything else is that every person, it's a different job. While compared with sales, you have a team of 10 salespeople and everybody kind of does the same thing, unless you have some differentiation there, pre-sale, post-sale, something like this. I would say that's the characteristics of marketing. It kind of has everything from really deep tech, people who need to make sure your website is up, or if you are in growth, you are going to actually work with product developers, all the way to people who just work with words.
Yep. Yeah. Yes. And George, like, if you, I mean, you've got a ton of experience here. And again, one of my topics is like, I want you to, maybe I'll ask you this from both sides. First of all, do you find recruiting as a manager now, hiring people into your teams, better or more challenging now than it was 5 years ago? And if I can ask you the same question, do you think it was better to be a candidate now or 5 years ago? Like, how do you see the change in this part of our business of recruit?
Okay, so before I answer that, let me just preface it by saying what the ideal scenario is.
Mm-hmm.
And the ideal scenario would be not to just find a job or hire someone, but find the good fit.
Yep.
Right? So there are no bad people or bad jobs, it's just bad fits. So I would say it's easier today to find a good fit. Like, it's more transparent of how a company actually is, who are their people, they post on social, you can meet them at events. Things have opened up in a sense that you can kind of say, I actually want to work for that company and that manager, rather than, okay, what companies are hiring, I will kind of blindly check, but I don't get a feel of how these people actually are. There are no videos of them online or anything like this. And to some extent, I would also say that it's easier for companies to find talent, especially if that talent goes the extra mile to build themselves a brand, post their work, in a sense that someone can actually see what they do and kind of go, next time I want to hire a designer, you are on the list. Or sometimes, even if we don't have an open role, but we see someone really good up saying, hey, I'm open, you could go the extra mile to create a role and get that person. So I would say it's easier today to find a good fit. I would say it's harder if you are gonna go and mass apply everywhere. That's probably going to be tough, because I would say the competition, and it's way easier to apply. So therefore, there's gonna be more CVs and more applications. So,
to be honest, I really like this approach, and I think this is valuable information. I mean, most of the time we all kind of come to this conclusion that it's harder. But what you've just said makes total sense. In fact, if we are talking about a more in-depth quality approach to recruitment, it's never been better. You can literally, there's so much data, transparency, information on the market for both sides. It makes a lot of sense, and I think that this is this topic now that is constantly coming up of like, it's scary to turn on the tap. It's scary to post that job post out there, because then you lose all control of what's coming towards you. There is different applications versus if you keep it quality. So, Joy, it kind of leads me in, like, when if you were to open your next role, or whether or not it was one of your most recent hires, is that how you kind of approach it? Like, would you first think, okay, I'm going to look at my network, I'm going to think who I know? Are you trying to keep that quality level high from your perspective before you open the door to 300 candidates, let's say?
Yeah, so I would say that I'm more about principles than actual systems to remember and apply kind of blindly. So let's say if you are hiring and you are in a startup situation, the definition of best fit is very different than when you are in a mature company. Because in a startup situation, you would want this person to stay for the journey, but you also know that this person internally has to be ready to change jobs a few times.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So I would say before we jump into, okay, I want to hire someone, this background information and kind of thinking ahead of how I will retain this person to be compounding, adding value as the company changes and how that needs to look like. It's really, really important. Otherwise, you're just going to hire and this person is going to not end probation period. With this in mind, I would for sure look at who I know. And it depends how much time do I have. Because again, if you're in a startup situation, you can't afford to wait 6 months to hire. So what you're forced to do, like it or not, is most of the times hire the best fit that you find, but probably could be a better fit out there. A bit like, okay, if you're going to buy a jacket, you're not going to try all the jackets in the world. It's physically impossible. So if something fits and it's kind of good enough and you're on time pressure, you might just go with it. So I would say at least I try to always have pipeline for people.
Yeah.
Always have pipeline. That's very safe. It doesn't mean I wouldn't open the gate if we need to hire, but I will always prefer internal promotions and then backfill them. So I would say that's like, although you don't need to actively manage this because, there is no problem, it's something that you should be prepared in case it happens to have at least an idea and how the market is for the roles that you've got.
Yeah, it's very interesting what you said, because I see that there is confusion from the candidate side right now. And I see these posts every so often, which is, yes, it's a really good definition that you made, that sometimes when we are recruiting, we are going to take the best of what we have available. And then with other roles, we're going to wait till someone meets the standard that we have. And one of the common things I see on posted, which is like, oh, I got rejected from a job. And then 4 weeks later, they made the announcement again that they are still hiring for this job. So why not me? But actually, sometimes in some roles, we have this level that we are really patient about and we can hold for. And I think that this is really interesting what you said, which is like, each time is different. The pressure inside the organization is different. Are we filling a role? Are we making a new role? But George, you said something important before I kind of, lose track of that, which is you said about that mindset and knowing that you might, if you're in a startup, fast startup space. I liked what you said about the fact that you're looking for someone that might move multiple roles. I've also experienced that where you might need someone that can encompass multiple roles, sadly, at the same time as well, and have the crossover. For you as the hiring manager, you probably have a really good understanding of where you are as an organization. Is there something that a candidate can do from the outside to get a better idea of what stage a company is at? Should they look at number of employees on LinkedIn? Should they look at the posts of the CEO or the founder saying how can a candidate from the outside get a good idea of maybe what kind of person a company is looking for?
So I would say if you need to look for signals that indicate rapid expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So that can be the company just secured investment. And this usually follows by an enormous amount of open roles.
Yes. Yeah.
And you can bet that if someone just got investment, they will need to have a return fast on that.
Yeah.
And that will be a fast-paced environment. Like if you're looking for a job to learn, that is not for you. Like
Very good point. Very good point.
That will be you learning how to swim in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. So don't even attempt it unless there is something that it says that we provide training, and like unless it's specifically said, which then it's fine. But Otherwise, in this kind of that will be high pressure for sure. So I would say that's I don't I would say that's a very strong one. Also, when companies hire, they tend to hire all at once. So if you see a company has a lot of roles open, that also tells you they want to move fast. If they have one or two roles open, it means they kind of done their thing. But that doesn't mean, like, if you really like the company and you think you're a good fit and you like the people there, apply anyway. If they don't have apply on careers, find either their HR or their CEO on LinkedIn and explain why you'd like to work there. But yeah, I think you can research pretty well these days if what kind of company is. You even have AI search, so you can even do that. I would double check it because it can hallucinate greatly. But I think you can have this kind of signals that will indicate to you what these people want to do.
It's so true, and I actually think that this is a really underestimated part of the candidate process of a recruitment. That I do sadly think that a number of candidates out there, they see social media manager, content manager, they think they are not thinking enough about how different that role is in each company. They are just looking at the role, the responsibilities, but it's very true. And I will dig a little bit deeper on this because I know, for example, I have a number of people that I talk to now that are especially looking to move from large enterprise organizations into the startup world. Now, I understand the motivation. The motivation is, oh, well, they do these mass layoffs. I was one of 5,000 people. I think in a startup, I'm going to be more impactful. But the one thing I'm also saying to candidates is that, startup life is not the sunny side either. There's a lot of challenges in being in a startup scale up, like you said. The comfortable element of that corporation, of that you have your job, your role, it's probably going to stay like that. They want you to just copy and paste each day the work, where in startup life, probably no 2 days are the same. And I think that's key as well. So, I mean, I think that's a really good piece of advice, that you've got to focus on also the organization that is hiring. I really like that. I think that's
big time. I think the easiest way to think about this is to think about the world of sports. And let's say we are both footballers, but you play to win the Champions League and I play in the 4th division. We are both called footballers. On paper, we are doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But I will just not get and survive in that team. I will not play there. I will be benched or somewhere. So it's kind of the same here.
Yeah.
Like, okay, where is this company going? What are they made of? And if these people go for gold medal, then I need to be gold medal material. And people who go for gold medal also live their private lives in certain ways, because to be the best in the world, run 100 meters super fast, you kind of need to do this. It's called sacrifices. It doesn't mean that that's the only way to happiness. Like running a marathon, it's already insane and people can't do it, and that can be good enough. And there are roles where you need that, and that's perfectly fine. It's all about being conscious about what you sign up for.
Yep.
And if someone rejects you, they can be doing you actually a favor. Massive one. It means that was not for me. Thank you. Recruiters want to hire you. Okay? They want to. Like when they come and you have an interview or they accept your CV, they do it with the purpose of wanting to hire. This is not about them being nasty or not wanting. So it means that somehow they think that you are not a fit. It can also go the other way, that you are a gold medal material, but you don't show it.
Yeah.
Or you think you are not, but you actually are. And that's also a side of the coin that's interesting, of course.
Yes, I mean, again, absolutely, and I think that this is like we'll cover this as we go today, which is we know we're in the world right now where sometimes people are applying for various jobs that they are not thinking about, or AI is applying for them, which is a whole different world now. Which is, yes, the volume is making the world challenging, but it's nice that what you're saying is, and this is the one of the takeaways I think candidates need to hear is that. If you think about what you are doing, it's almost impossible that the outcome doesn't have a greater chance of success, in my opinion. The more you are thinking about what you're doing, the more, and ironically, I was saying this, that data actually shows now that if you enter more than 80 applications total, your chances of getting higher actually decrease overall. So it kind of falls in that. But George, like one of the topics, like what, like, you know who you want to hire, and I think you've got what you've just said is really important. I'd like to dig a little bit deeper in, like, what are the processes that you have to make sure you're finding the right people? Like, what does an average recruitment process look for you? How many steps do you have? What do you like? Do you move fast? Do you move slow, etc.? Like, what are the steps you normally like to involve in a recruitment process that make you feel comfortable you are finding the right people?
Yeah. So providing we know who we want to hire and that we want to hire in the first place. About any job on earth, you can break it down into 3 pieces: mindset, skill set, tool set. So as a requirement for someone being a good fit to do this job, they need to have these 3 things. If they are a Formula 1 driver, they want to be a Formula 1 driver. They know how to drive that car, and we have the car. Like,
yeah.
So these 3 things have to be there. Then the main question is, for this particular role, how should this, I would call it test, not interview, be to make sure that this person can demonstrate these aptitudes? Especially for skill, I would say interview questions are not the best. Because let's say you want people to show, not tell. So let's say if I'm hiring you to be a chef in a restaurant, I could ask you, can you cook an omelet? You say yes, but I would rather ask you to cook an omelet and I see how you do it.
Yep.
So I would say to think about what is it that you want to hire and what are the best ways that signal to you that they've got the mindset, they've got the skill set, and they have the tool set. And if this is a stage of interview questions and task, then so be it. If this is 2 tasks, then so be it. It will all have to be situational. But that's your guiding principle. I would say the number one thing is to not go by default with, we have to ask questions in an interview, and this is our main tool of deciding if someone can actually do the job. Actually, it's the other way around, because you want to show, not tell. You want to see proof. That's far more important. I'm not saying the interview questions are not important. And when it comes to interview questions, if I have to ask them, I usually use what's called a STAR method. So what's the situation you've been in, then the task that you've been given, and what's the action that you've done and the result that you had. Just to have some sort of framework that through words we can extract proof that this job can be done. But generally, that's how I would approach it. I would say, okay, what's the fit? What's mindset, skill set, tool set? Decide the stages according to that, and then the specific of the stages, whatever they need to be.
Yeah, and in your experience, like if we narrow, like probably if we look over the last year or so, like was there a case for you when you feel like you had a recruitment, you were like, yeah, we nailed that, we got the process exactly right, because now I feel like it's the best candidate? And maybe not even for you as a recruiter, but in general, like you touched on the interview as a nice example. Like, what are the how do people get this wrong as well? Like, is like, are there stages that people are having that just make no sense, that they are just, they're not giving any more peace of mind that you're making right choices, and they're in there because we've always had those stages. Like you said, I love the idea of requesting, but maybe I'll break it into two. Give me if you can the most recent example for you of like when you got it right and you felt like it was a good process, and then please after that tell me where you think that it's going wrong, let's say.
All right. I think I can have both in the same example.
Okay, that's good.
For example, hiring designers.
Yeah.
So it was relatively easy to get that to hire a designer. You want to see how they design. Not necessarily what they designed before, that's cool, but if they can design in your system and how that can go. So I think we had at some point this part nailed. But at the same time, a really important part of working with designers is their ability to take direction and not be creative, which is extremely demanding on some people. Like some people would rather die than to make this compromise. It's almost artistic. It's like,
Yeah.
no, this is my stuff. If you don't like it, bye. And in the context of a marketing team, you will need to make compromises, and things are not going to be perfect, which art wants kind of to be, tends in that direction. While on social media, it's a post, it's going to be this resolution, it will look good anyway, nobody's going to care about it. Although your ego will suffer greatly if you compromise on a few pixels as being perfect. So I would say in this one, we nailed the proof. But here, the mindset part, we underestimated, which overall was not a good experience for both sides. Everybody struggled.
Yeah. It's so true, because you get that portfolio and you're seeing the output, but you're not seeing the process that got to that end portfolio. Is it 100% of the designer's full capacity, or was that a compromise? Was it a collaboration? I think that's super a great example. It's a great example, I think. And did you learn from that how to find that out from a future designer? Did you think, okay, because I also struggle with this sometimes in recruitment processes. I'm like, I'd like to see how this person work in this scenario, but you can't. Your recruitment process is limited to a certain level of expectation. So, with that explained in my mind, did you come up with anything that was like, okay, let's test how future designers collaborate?
So in general, the lesson from that is that from the three components of mindset, toolset, skill set, mindset is the most important.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's the most important. Like, if someone has mindset 100 but skill set 80,
yeah,
I would hire this than skill set 100 and mindset 60.
Yep.
So the lesson was how to get the mindset that we require, and what were all the friction points and all the questions and all the problems I could ever remember about this role, like from the field, and bake them in this sort of, let's call it interview.
Yeah.
To make sure that as many of these, sometimes with yes or no, this is the situation, will this piss you off or not?
Yeah, like be direct. So, I like it.
So I think it's good to have some open questions and stuff, but if you have some red flags that you really don't want to happen, then just ask it. It's the same with sales. Like, are you okay to call people, yes or no?
Yeah. And what I like about that as a recruiter, by the way, because what I think can happen, I like those questions because my mind knows that probably sometimes in the interview process, the person will tell you what you want to hear, but we are letting them take that home with them. So we are saying, like, are you uncomfortable if this happens? And they might go, no, I'm great. But when they go home and they realize what the role includes,
Yes. So usually I start the interview with saying that we're gonna spend the next hour going on to this two-way road, and at the end of it, we need to understand if this is a fit for both of us or not.
Yeah.
And ideally, someone would understand in the interview that they are not, like, if this job is really not for them, to really get it that, okay, this is not for me.
Yeah.
And I've told people in that one interview, not after, that, hey, do you think this is for you? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, and then it makes them realize, oh, so what is it for you? Let's just, be constructive here and kind of help you with what would be the best fit. So, if you're going to get to an interview, it increases your chances. So when it comes to like, give me some feedback part, you can also give the feedback that is actually constructive in this way. But to give feedback, you need to have feedback. Like, don't make it up. Like, this needs to be, based on our conversation, it's obvious that it's like this, which, by the way, it's fine, because our goal in the beginning was to check if this is a fit or not. And if we discover this, it means we hit our objective. It doesn't matter if it's a yes or no, but we've hit it. We now have the clarity that you are or you are not a fit for this role, which is good.
And this is it, because I think, candidates who are listening, like, I do understand your drive that you want things to be good or bad or right or wrong. But what you are saying is phenomenal here, because it's not about good enough, not good enough. It's fit.
Yes,
it's fit, and fit is dynamic. So you may have been great for the company a year before, or you might be a great fit for that role a year after, but in what the company demands are now and the structure, it's not a good fit, and we should always avoid bad fits. And my theme a lot across all the episodes is that as candidates, we can't look at getting hired as the finish line. It's the starting line. And, I know we're under pressure to find roles and stuff like this, but George, if I can, because I think we already have like a wealth of knowledge from you, to get into some specifics and kind of call on your experience. One of the questions I love to ask my guests is, what is something that a candidate did to stand out for you, that impressed you? Because yes, I think we take a lot of responsibility as hiring managers to ask the right questions, to have the structure, but candidates, you have a huge opportunity to impress and make decisions easier as well. And what are the kind of things that you've experienced over your recruitments where a candidate did something that wasn't asked of them, but really impressed you?
It's exactly what you said. Make it easy. So if you can make it that if I can skip some questions, because you've made it so that I know the answer. For example, in advance of the interview, nobody asked you, but you've sent a presentation with stuff. You've sent, I think people send portfolio, but presentation is also good. Or some additional reasoning. Or some things that you're going to get as questions. And by the way, guys, I know you're going to probably ask me this. We're going to have limited time, so here's some additional backup.
Nice.
Anything around anticipating, that's great. Anything that makes it easier to identify that you are a good fit in general, like this is your guiding light. Do it. It will probably require things that nobody asked you to do. But everybody will appreciate this. I would say more in startups and small companies.
Yeah.
If a company that's bigger has requirements to, absolutely no contact and, very rigid type of thing, it goes against the rules or some regulation that prevent that. Okay, that's fine. But I would say that's another edge case. So it also applies to very basic things like how your CV looks like, not just the information, but the design on it, things like this. I would say this is a standard. Most people would understand that their CV needs to look good. As people who recruited, I know how many CVs have typos and problems like that. I am at a stage where I actually don't penalize people for some basic mistakes, and I approach it more like in baseball, like 3 and you're out, not just one.
Yeah.
And then if I see a glaring mistake, I would ask you, are you sure this is it? Can you clarify this? Because I know, unfortunately, and this is the truth, most people can't sell themselves, especially the good candidates, because they feel bad about it. They have problems with understanding they are good at the job. They have imposter syndrome. They need to go over that. So this is a one-shot knockout stage. This doesn't mean that this is how they are. So there is an element of leniency and understanding, for sure, but there is also a lot that can be done.
Yeah. And George, what again, because I actually think this is a shame with some candidates that they don't realize, they're not thinking. It's not. So I think I always say this. I think some great candidates never got the job because they were not thinking about the details, the specifics. So for a candidate listening today, what's a strike for you? What's a strike? What we talk about typos. We talk what kind of things can trigger that negative feeling for you, or that turn off? What kind of things will get you specifically, like you as George?
Yeah, I think so. For me, if I sense someone is, let's say, lying, or over absolutely selling themselves, and I ask some clarifying questions, and that's the case, that's a turnoff. Like, just don't do it. It doesn't. You will maybe okay. So if you're successful, you'll be hired for something that you cannot do. And what will happen then? You will then look for a job. We will waste our time. So I would say the number one red flag is just don't do that. And as a, let's say, white flag, just tell the truth.
Yeah, it's so simple, right? I mean, it's such a common theme, but it's like I bring it back to this topic of like thinking getting hired is the finish line, and I think it's short-sighted. It's short-sighted, and no one wants that outcome, because we know what happens next if you are faking it or if you are embellishing the truth. Yeah, it doesn't end well for anybody.
Yeah, I think this comes from the fact that we all had 12 to 14 to 16 years of education in school.
Okay.
Where we've been going through tests that were about getting a mark and moving on.
Yeah.
And an interview can feel the same way, like someone is testing my knowledge, but it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to reframe yourself and forget all that and detach yourself from it and understand that this is a different situation. This is about work, which is a big part of life, 8 hours a day at least, let's say, standard. It's going to dictate your happiness for the next couple of years. Your family depends on it. If you're going to sustain this job, you need to feel good in it. So there is an element of being truthful that's more important than anything else.
Yep. And
I would say you also need to kind of, so for example, for me, the best candidate is not the person who is 100% ready for the job, because this person will probably get bored. They went there, they've done it. They ideally would be kind of 80% ready. Like there is a space to grow. And what you could do to kind of get confidence, or what's your level, you could benchmark yourself. Like for some skills it's possible. Like for example, for English, instead of saying C1, if you show me a YELTS certificate or something, 99% of other people wouldn't have attached this.
Yeah. But I love what you just said, and I was purposely trying to be quiet because I was like, this is my social media clip. I like this. But I like this thing, what you said about being 100%. And I think this is, again, I mean, I also looked at this from an employee satisfaction surveys, is after being motivated by salary, the next most important motivation for us is progression. So I love this thing you said about 80% ready means that we can all be happy about growing. But for me, it links into what you said before, which is in order to be 80% ready for a job, you have to show that you are 20% not. You have to show it. You have to talk about it. You have to be humble. You have to be exposed. You have to be okay with that. And again, I agree with what we've been taught for so long, that you can't show weaknesses in recruitment processes, where for me, it's the best thing you can show me. Show me where you need a little bit of space. Show me what you need a little bit of time. For me, that's a huge part of picking a good person.
Yeah. I mean, I like bringing down things to basics. So
yeah,
if you are asking for progression, you need to have somewhere to progress on.
Yeah.
If you are perfect and you have nothing to learn on, then why do you want progression?
Yep.
So when you want progression, in a sense, there is admittance that you see a space to grow. There is an area, which is perfectly fine. So let's just talk about it. What's that area? Is there something we can facilitate and teach, or you are not going to find that here? It's expected and you need to have it. Otherwise, it's not going to work.
No, I mean, again, I have this a lot, and I can only talk from even like when I got my role at Trafford, which some people can look at on paper and say, oh my God, like they wanted like the finished article. They needed you to come in and take care of that. And in my first meeting, I said, by the way, guys, I'm terrible at performance marketing. It's moving so fast, I'm not keeping up with it. I'm not really super up to date with SEO as well. So they would be my first two hires or my first two supports. And to this day, the investors and the CEO says, like, it was great to hear. Like, in your first meeting, the first thing you did is expose that I'm not perfect. I have this to improve. And I can only say that for me, when I'm also hiring, it really gives me trust and confidence in the person when they share that vulnerability a little bit.
Yeah. It's working everywhere. From Hollywood, when they make characters, there used to be the perfect character, like Superman with no flaws, knight in shiny armor, and that was boring.
Yeah.
Where characters and movies starting being interested is when these people starting having problems.
Yeah.
Like Sherlock Holmes, he's taking opium. He has a drug problem.
Yeah.
He has issues. He is disturbed. He has some superpowers, but because it's dimensional, it's more interesting. It's more relatable. It's like how real life is.
Yep. I fully agree. George, you touched on something, and we'll kind of just one step I want to ask you about, which is something that I'm talking about a lot, is can someone be hired by you when you're not recruiting? And I know we've touched on this during the meeting today. Has this happened? Do you encourage it? And what would be the approach if you really want to work for a company but they don't have an open position, for example, at Woodpecker? What's a good way for a candidate to approach that if they wanted to open the opportunity of a role, but you're not aware that you need that person right now?
Yeah, so I would say you have to, like, for this kind of things, okay, you can write your CV to a general careers thing and pitch it there. But usually HR will try to prioritize to fit things that are open, they are KPI'd on this, and so on. If you are going to have a better chance with speculative applications to just figure out who's the manager of what team, or if you can't figure out who's the manager somewhere in that team, but it's usually better to go for the manager for sure, and pitch to them. But pitch to them specifically. Why do you want to work for them, for the company? You check the team. It looks like someone like you is maybe missing. What is it that you can add? Like, it needs to be a good personalized pitch overall. And now there are, on me, as if I get this, it doesn't mean sometimes I want to hire you, but I can't because there is no budget. Or there is something else going on in the company. I don't know, maybe recruitment ban. Sometimes it can happen that even if you are in the process of interviewing, something happens in the company and you'll get a no, and it's not your fault, but you'll never know. So this can also happen. So I would say, if you really like a company and a person, just apply.
Yeah.
For
And
sure.
that's one of the questions that, like, and I think you've touched on it, so I'm probably asking the obvious here, but, like, should a candidate, like, in what cases can a candidate kind of like overstep the process? So what I mean is, like, Woodpecker opens a position, obviously the advice is to go and apply for the job through the form, upload your CV, etc. And someone goes, you know what, I'm going to write to George directly. I'm going to skip a little bit that. Or someone has an interview and they said, okay, like, wait 7 days and we'll give you the response with the feedback. And they go after 2 days. I'm going to write to George and just tell him how excited I was about the meeting. For you personally, do you welcome that kind of extra work, extra contact directly to you, or can it be done in an incorrect way? Can candidates turn you off by being too persistent? What is, like, when is that acceptable? When is that a benefit, and how you feel about it?
So I think for me, it's for sure okay to pitch once, but don't follow up forever. Like, if you don't get, like, when you go with this, expect that you might not get a reply. It's possible. I would say if you pitch once and maybe follow up once, it's enough. If you're going to do more than that, that person might have reasons that they cannot go back to you. Maybe the company prevents them.
Yeah.
They've said, okay, if someone reaches out to you, don't reply.
Don't engage. Yeah.
You don't know this kind of information. So what you can do to be safe but not annoying, is pitch once and follow up once. If you want to even be less annoying and risk it less, don't follow up. So I would say that's generally safe. Now, if you're going speculative and you know who's hiring, check if these people have said that they want or not. Because sometimes people write on LinkedIn that we're hiring, but they also write, don't DM me, apply. And then if you apply, it means you didn't follow the instructions and you can't follow basic rules.
Exactly. And this is why I kind of slightly empathize with candidates, because we like extra mile, but we don't like ignorance to processes. Yeah. So I think it's very important to really look at the person and the way that they write about the fact that they are hiring, because they're a slippery slope.
Yeah. I think if you're going to put this on LinkedIn that you're hiring, you should say that, do you want people to DM you? What's the CTA? Like, if you want, just go apply there. Don't DM, but also say, don't DM me. So I would say it's as long as you give that kind of direction, you're going to save everybody a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
Regardless of direction, people are going to DM you anyway.
Yeah.
So then you need to make a choice if who's DMing you, is that good or bad? And so on.
No, I mean, I think again, like with any kind of competition or any logic like that, I think the constant fear that the candidate has is, like I said, like every step out of the boundary can be seen as, oh, this person's motivated, that's great, or this person can't follow the rules, or they're disturbing. And I think, I mean, like I'm happy, like you said, I think that the simple option is, if you feel passionate enough about doing it, then do it, but do it once and trust the person you are writing to that they've decided and they've made a choice. They might not have told you the next steps, but also I said this recently on a post that, even legally now, I cannot accept an application via my LinkedIn DM. I need your consents. I need this kind of stuff. So even if I'm impressed, I'm going to still send you to the form, and don't be offended that I do, because companies also have regulations and things like this, right? I mean, George, as we're coming to this kind of twilight of the episode here, there's a new segment that I'm really interested in, which is, and I think that the world is full of advice for candidates about how to apply, how to do interviews, how to do this and the other. And one thing I'm looking at more and more now, because it's happening more than ever, is how can a candidate get rejected successfully? And I mean this ironically from the candidate perspective. And what I'm saying right now is, when we reject a candidate from a job, we will give our feedback the best we can. The big question I'm asking you now is, what do you think candidates should do next regarding to that specific job. Because what we are seeing now is this wide range of reaction. We're getting candidates saying thank you. We're getting candidates saying, F you, how dare you reject me? Like, there's a lot of emotion coming around because rejections are coming stronger and stronger now. What's the best thing a candidate can do once they've been rejected by you for you to think, okay, next time or in the future? Like, what's the best way you can react to a rejection in 2026, basically?
Yeah. So I think defaulting to principles again in business, it's best to not burn your bridges.
Yep.
You never know. Taking a step back, you might be in a situation where you'll still work for the next 10 to 40 years, depending on where you are in your career.
Yes.
That is a long time. It's not worth burning bridges, even if it's going to be emotional for you in the moment. There is no scenario where if you tell them off and how you feel, it's not going to be good for you, and there is nothing for you. There is no benefit into this. The best thing that you can do once you got rejected, first, if you didn't get any feedback, ask for it, but with some context to say, look, I thought I'm a good fit for this. I understand there are better candidates, but I will also understand where exactly are the gaps. You could even point, like, in the interview, I felt I didn't answer this, and that. Was this it? So the best you can take at this point from this one is get an understanding of what you can do better when you interview next. This is like, if they give you that, because they don't have to, and this is extra effort, but this is also nice for companies to do this. And if you are asking politely, most people will do it. It will not be like if for a role they had 1,000 CVs, they're not going to go and give feedback for everyone. But if someone really asks, and there will be just a few who do this. Then it's fine. The other thing that can happen is that they can, for example, if you hire in sales, but it turns out the person is actually customer success. If they open a customer success role, they might think you would be great for that. So you might be in some jobs where lateral jobs are actually very close. And maybe you're a better fit there, which would be great if that is. So I would really try to get the positive out of it. It might require doing some proactive work, and in the moment it might feel bad. But if you're taking the perspective of my career will be another 40 years, it's definitely not worth it.
Two things come to mind from what you've just said, which, because I totally agree. I remember the first thing that comes to mind is like one of the first lessons I learned in sales was that there are other things to take away than winning a deal. So if you can't close a deal, the best thing you can do is find out, well, okay, what was it about the solution you chose that really excited you? You can, there are layers, like you said. I'm not going to get this job, but what's the next best value I can find? Let me find out what I could do better for the next role, which I think it's again, it takes some patience and and controlling your emotions, but I think it's true. But if I could come, like, the flip side really gets me, which is like, even personally, when I reject people, I will get some emotional responses that are like, I think this is wrong, etc. Which, okay. And it reminds me of you used a football analogy in the past. And I always have this thing with the referee. And there was a very good interview with the referee, which is, a referee's like, okay, I have my rules, I have my law. And I always was like, I have no idea why footballers scream at referees after a decision. Because it's a decision. Okay, now we have VAR, but anyway. And the referee said this very simply, which was like, I follow the rules of the law of the game, but every so often I will have to make a gut decision 50-50. I remember who screamed in my face and told me all the worst words on the world. And when that next 50-50 challenge comes up, sorry to say it affects my judgment. And I think the same with candidates. Yes, you can be expressive and emotional, but 2 months down the line, it could be a CS role instead of sales. I could have thought you were perfect, but that outcome is affecting my personal decision.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's not that it's affecting my personal decision, but I would also think if you are in a tough situation at the job and something needs to be done in a way that you don't like it, that's not the way to move forward. And there will be situations where you're gonna have to do things you don't necessarily like.
Yep.
It's very unlikely
And
to be in that.
I think it's very, very rare, but I was actually happy because I'm always happy on this podcast when we have alternative views. And the ironic thing is I've had one person, Magda, who was on a previous episode, who said that the candidate argued the result and they ended up hiring that candidate. But they said very specific why. They were a software house and they see the ability to challenge a status from a customer example and push back as a positive. So they were, and it's very rare. So I don't think every candidate should push back on every decision of rejection. But in the main cases, I'm with you. To be honest, I think it's about planning for the future, not burning bridges, and sadly, just putting a lot of trust in the fact that one of the other guests put this: as a candidate, you don't have the whole view. You don't know all the other candidates. You don't know you're going to have to trust the hiring manager that they've made this decision with more data, more understanding. I think it's a key thing.
Yeah, I mean, in this example that you brought up, like, I can see that in some jobs where there is a test and you answered well, and actually you were right, it can happen that someone did a mistake.
Yeah.
And you are okay to objectively challenge it in a respectful manner. And because if it's like a formula or something, objectively, this is obviously wrong, but someone did a mistake on the hiring side, like they would be, oh shit, we're actually missing on a good candidate. Thanks for bringing that up.
Yes. But it has to have purpose, and the delivery is everything, right? The delivery of that objection is very, very important.
Yes. Yeah. So this is again like you can't memorize things. You just need to have the principles and then adapt to the situation.
Yeah.
Which is extremely powerful. Like even in leadership, like I call it situational leadership. Like you shouldn't be either direct or democratic.
Yeah.
Change according to what the situation calls and don't be stuck into your things. And it's the same on the candidate side. Where people act badly and regrets their decision is when their thinking capability is impacted by something, and biologically the emotional part overshadows logical decisions. So as a rule, when you feel emotional about anything like investing or I don't know, selling your house and things like this, like make sure your emotions are flatline.
Yeah. I always say that we're as an individual, I'm not allowed to make big decisions in January because I'm normally very sad with the weather and stuff. So, but George, just to make sure I don't make you repeat yourself, what we're going to do here, the wrap up of the episode, which was amazing by the way, and everybody listening to it, I ask you to give 3 pieces of advice to someone that is wanting to be hired by you. The 3 like short sentences. What advice would you give? 3 pieces of advice you'd give to someone who wants to work for you.
All right, so I'll have to repeat a bit.
It's okay.
I would say they have to tell the truth.
Yep.
They have to make it easy for me to hire them. And ideally, they would show, not tell.
I love it.
Stories and words and things like this, it's fine. But if you have hard proof, example, benchmarks, awards, you are willing to do tests. Maybe for this job, we need to have 4 stages, which is annoying, but you're willing to do it. That will exponentially increase your chances. And I would say the reverse of the medal is when you are mass applying same CV for every role and then you conclude at the end of the day that you've sent 100 CVs, no reply. The absolute generic trying to tell a story to jump a hurdle and how do I impress them at the interview, but actually is not true, is the opposite side of the spectrum. I think candidates overcomplicate this mostly. I would say people get very emotional and it's hard when you have an interview because you don't have practice with it. But in fact, if you would just talk normally without any spikes and just say what you did and what you think you're good at and why you're there, and you bring your proof, then you're fine. For those people who have problems with this, I would recommend you to make yourself a piece of paper where you write down things that you've done in your life, doesn't have to be work, that you're proud of. You won the Olympics in math. You won some gymnastics thing. You won something in coding. You actually came up with something. So that it's kind of hard to do this kind of introspection in the moment. But if you have this boost morale page, all of a sudden, you know what? I'm actually
I'm not tricking anybody. I'm actually good at this job. I mean, you are not alone, George. I say, and again, I one of the great advice I heard lately was also read your CV to somebody next to you, your partner, your friend, whatever. And it was like, many times I see in CVs like sales role, exceeded target consistently. What would be the first natural question? Cool. What was target? By how much? And then put the details in, those preconceived questions that we can really estimate that someone would ask. You can put it there. So I think you are not alone in this advice. I think it's a great advice.
Yeah.
George, we are right on time here. So first, let me in once again. Thank you so much. What I would like to ask you is, if somebody wants to learn more from you or wants to see opportunities in your teams, in your organization, where should they go? Where can people go to get some more George advice, more follow you and learn you? Is LinkedIn your place? Is the career page your site? Where should they go?
For sure, LinkedIn. It's best to approach me there. Any questions you have on hiring and stuff, just DM me. This is not what I post about. I mostly post about building brands on social media, which if you're a candidate and you're going to do that for yourself, it's a great benefit because you'll never have to look for a job. People are going to knock on your door. So that would be the ultimate extreme proactive approach. Just build yourself a brand and make people remember that you're the best pierogi maker in Poland. It's humble, but if you are the best at that and that's your brand, you will make a lot of money. That's for sure.
I couldn't agree more. Everybody, listen, if you're a recruiter watching this, a candidate, I highly recommend you connect with George, you follow George. I think his advice, regardless of if it's for marketing or if it's for email marketing or if it's for recruitment, you can adapt that knowledge into any way that you want to use it. So George, listen, first, thank you so much again for being on the podcast. I really appreciate it. For people watching and got this far, if you really like this, please click like and subscribe. We've got guests coming on. We try to release once a week. George, you knocked it out of the park, buddy. Thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to have you on in the future and see if we are on the right track or if anything changed. Thanks so much, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Mick. Bye-bye.